Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria. I hope that everybody has had a good week, and I hope that you're getting ready for a fantastic weekend. Students, in this class, we are looking at the IELTS reading section. Specifically, we're looking at academic IELTS reading. However, for general IELTS students, you should know that your section 3 for reading in the general IELTS is very, very similar to the reading passages of the academic IELTS. So to get those high band scores, especially for those express entry visas, you are good to study from the academic reading passages as well. Okay, and in this passage we're going to be looking at an interesting topic, or an interesting piece of information about the city of 1,000 windows. Find interest in your reading materials. That will help you to improve your English faster and to get better band scores. Hi Fateh, welcome students, good to have you here with me today. Students, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Check us out there. For the general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, we've got lots of materials to help you improve for the reading section, as well as other parts of the IELTS exam. Our academic IELTS website looks like this. We've got 6 full practice exams. We've got lots and lots of reading passages. You click this big red button to join our premium IELTS package. That's just above my head here. We are an official IELTS test registration center, certified agents. You're in great hands with us. You fill out the form and you use the discount code HAPPY9 for a 20% discount. Okay, it's the same idea on the general IELTS, gieltshelp.com. You simply click this big red button and you are good to go. So check us out there. Welcome Carolina, our chat moderator. Good to have you with us, keeping the class on track. That's excellent. Now, students, if you want to use our apps for your phone, our apps are Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help. You can download the apps from your app stores, and the apps will link to the websites. You can follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AEHelp and GIELTS Help. And you can keep track of our live IELTS class schedules. We post a lot of sample essays and great information. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is a subscribers chat class, so if you click subscribe, you can start joining in on the chat. And if you have questions, just send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. That's my email address. And we usually get back to students within 24 hours. Okay, so the schedule right now, reading tomorrow, speaking part 2 and speaking part 3. And then on Sunday, we have a special class that will be on Lighthall. It's a different platform. It's a free class for speaking. I'm going to stick it here. That is platform for live teaching. It's excellent. It's a lot of fun. It works really well. So I highly recommend joining that speaking class on Sunday. And we have another one of those on the following Sunday, June 26th. The links are in the chat, so you can sign up for those classes. All right. So we're going to do some reading with our viewers today as well, and to volunteer for reading, we'll go through these steps in a few moments. But for right now, let's take a look at our passage, the city of 1,000 windows. What could that be? The city of 1,000 windows. Okay, so Looking at the title and predicting from the title is a very important step for success on the IELTS exam. So when you have this title, what kind of information can you infer? Okay, so your first step should be to read the title and critically think about. Critically, you can also think about this as logically. Think about the information in the passage. Meaning, what is it about? Why does the author present this information? How would the author logically present the information? Okay, so when you think about this question, what is it about? What are your answers, students? So we've got lots of people in the class now. Monica, Rashika, Amra are members, Ghazi, and we've got a lot of our regular students as well. Diana, Lois, Andre, Santosh. So when you read this title, A City of a Thousand Windows, what do you think this passage will be about? Okay, so try to answer this question first. Okay, what will this passage, without reading any of the questions, without reading any of the passage, what comes to mind? What do you think this will be about? Logically, right? Just from this title. The titles are quite well thought out in the IELTS, so they should give you an overall idea of the content. Okay. And certainly if I read a title like this, A City of a Thousand Doors or A City of a Thousand Windows, it definitely gives me some ideas of what I'm about to read. What do you think it is? Leah says big apartments. Okay, maybe. Apartments isn't the first thought that I would have. Okay. Rajneet says windows or glass. Yeah, okay. Mian says maybe a modern city. Yeah, possible because of all the skyscrapers. Okay. Rashika says a huge building with lots of windows, fresh air. Houses with a lot of windows. A beautiful place, says Mandeep. Okay. Simple thoughts, students. Simple thoughts. Okay. So simple thoughts, in my mind, what comes to mind for me is a historical city that has a lot of windows because of unique buildings. Now, if I think about a historical city that has a lot of windows because of unique buildings, what comes to mind for me is maybe like churches. Churches and religious buildings often have a lot of windows. Okay. Okay, and then why does the author present this information? Because it is unique and tells an interesting story about a culture or civilization. Okay, so that's what comes to mind for me. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into my brain. So a journey into the brain of Adrian. So because it's unique, it tells some kind of interesting story. It's going to obviously reveal some unique parts of a culture or a civilization. And how would the author logically present the information? Through good organization, chronologically, describing visually the information. Okay, what does chronologically mean, students? So when we talk about places, when we talk about people, when we talk about certain events, oftentimes writing, the passages, are organized chronologically. So if you're paying to chronological order, you can remember the information much, much better. So what does it mean chronologically? Now, if you know a little bit of Latin, or if you know a little bit about Latin languages like Spanish or French, and you know the word chronos, those of you who speak Spanish, like Carolina, will have an advantage here, can figure that out chronologically. It is step-by-step, Leah, but what kind of step-by-step? Amra says orderly, but what kind of orderly? Anhong says dates. Yeah, chronos, a synonym for chrono or chronos means, Ghazi says, origin of time of the event. Yeah, the time order of the event. So time order of the events is the sequence, right? Time order of the events, or you could say time sequence. Okay, so definitely pay attention when there's chronological events happening, and visualize, okay? Good authors, good writers write visual information. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at the questions now. That's our second step. Okay, so we've thought about what this could be, why this could be, how this could be. Let's take a look at this. So step 2 is look at the questions quickly, not slowly. Questions quickly to get an even better idea of the contents of the passage. Okay, so read with me, students. This is a reading class, so make sure to read with me, okay? So read together, all right, aloud. That means so you can hear yourself. Hopefully you're in a place where you can read aloud. If you're not, be careful, okay? So let's read together. Let's read these questions together nice and quick. So I'm not going to go slow here. I'm going to go nice and quick because I just want a better idea of what the passage contents are. I don't worry about the instructions. I can worry about that later when I'm answering the questions, okay? So title of a summary topic, all right? So City of a Thousand Windows, beginnings. Obviously, chronological order makes sense then, right? Beginnings. The mythical origin of Bharat involves a battle between two something concerning the affections of a certain woman named Tamor and Shparag. They live on today in the form of two something surrounding the city of Bharat. Violence strikes. Bharat is thought to be about 2,500 years old. Soon after this time, when it was a Macedonian fortress, the something destroyed the city and killed all males over the age of 15. Later, Bharat was given the name something because of its importance and culture and beauty in the Byzantine Empire. If you're not able to go the same speed as me, that's okay. Just keep reading. Guarding Bharat. Let's add that to the dictionary. The fortress on top of Osum River's north bank is known as the something of Bharat. It is over 1,500 years old and was repaired approximately 800 years ago. It once held many religious institutions, including a something and 20 Christian houses of worship. Questions 33 to 39. Yes, no, not given. Do not read these. They're confusing to read before the passage. They can easily confuse you about the passage, so don't read them. Okay, all right, we've got lots of those, so we're going to skip those. And then we've got multiple choice. The strategy with multiple choice, only read the questions. Okay, so read with me. 40. Which of the following phrases best describes the main aim of reading passage 3? This is a kind of an interesting question. As soon as you have this kind of multiple choice question, that gives you a very important tip about correct reading. Okay, so to answer this question correctly, you will need to, what's the missing part here? Okay, so you will need to do what? In order to answer a question like what is the main aim of this reading passage, or the best description for this reading passage main goal or main aim is, okay, Shivam, you cannot predict questions on IELTS exams. That's a silly waste of time. Study correct strategy, maximize your scores, practice your English as much as possible. That's my advice. My advice is don't try to predict questions on the exam. It's a horrible waste of time. Okay. All right. Akril says skim read the passage. Amra says comprehend this text. Read the passage, says Lois. Yeah, you have to read the passage. You will need to read the passage. Skim reading will not be enough. Trying to skim and scan the whole passage for answers is a really bad idea. Skimming can be a useful technique for answering some questions, but not as the primary way to go through a reading passage. It doesn't work, students. This is a reminder. I know a lot of our regular students know this. A lot of people who took the IELTS exam know this. Using only skim reading, I should say, using only skim reading is a sure way to get a low band score. If you can get a good band score by only skim reading, then you can get a way better score by reading properly. Okay, band score because questions are paraphrased. You cannot identify not given questions. Okay, and this is an important one. This is one that many students don't think about, and skimming only for 1 hour is extremely exhausting mentally and will have a negative impact on your writing section score. Because you will be psychologically fatigued. Okay, so does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so using only skimming and scanning is a really bad idea, not just because it's not an effective strategy for the reading section, but also because your brain gets really tired. Like I could not imagine in a foreign language to try to skim read for answers for a whole hour and then write an essay in a structured and organized way. That's a horrible combination. That's a combination for disaster. Okay. All right. So you need to read. You need to have organization in your head during the reading section. You need to have organization in your head during the writing section. So only skim reading is a horrible, horrible idea, especially on the academic IELTS exam. General IELTS, section 1, section 2, they're short passages. I still don't recommend only skim reading, but all right, maybe, because they're short passages. Academic, definitely not. Okay? All right, so keep that in mind. So let's do this. Now, this is a physical passage. It's about a city. It's about the history of a city. It should be information that we can clearly see. I think there's like an emoji where I'm doing this. Let's see if I can. It's tricky. You gotta have flexible hands for that. So there's an emoji where I'm doing that. You gotta see the passage. I'm sure some of you will find that emoji. I think those emojis are only available to members of the channel. You can sign up to be a member if you want those funky emojis. Yeah, Emra just I knew some of you would find that emoji pretty quickly. So see the passage, right? See the passage. All right. I'm glad that Ghazi got a good laugh out of that. Okay, see the passage. Visualization is super important for processing information well. Okay, if you don't see it, it's trouble. Okay, let's read. So let's do this. Let's read together. Again, remember, we're reading together, all right? And then for practice, I'll give a chance for everybody else to read also, okay? All right, here we go. From the top, read with me. And this speed that I'm reading is absolutely okay for the IELTS exam to get a high band score and finish in 20 minutes. Here we go, from the top. The city of 1,000 windows. According to an Albanian legend, Berat, the city of 1,000 windows, as it is affectionately known, was brought into being by a fight among the gods over the love of a woman. Two ancient giants represented by the nearby mountains, Tamor and Shparag, killed each other in the battle for the woman's heart. Emotionally distraught over their deaths, the woman cried unendingly. She cried so much that her tears of sorrow created the Osum River, which bisects Berat, and she drowned in this river of her own tears. Berat is an ancient city, and it is believed to be approximately 2,500 years old. Though the historical record is unclear, historians think the original inhabitants of the area were the ancient Greek tribe known as the Dasarite. Later, the settlement became a Macedonian fortress in what was then southern Illyria. One of the most gruesome events in the town's history occurred in 200 BC when it was attacked by the Roman army led by Lucius Apustius. His army destroyed the city's defenses and killed every male citizen over the age of 15 in what must have been a terrible massacre. During the Byzantine period following the fall of the western half of the Roman Empire, Berat was known as Pulcheropolis, a name which was derived from Pulcheria, the sister of Roman Emperor Theodosius II. This name was not given casually. Pulcheria was highly respected throughout the empire and was considered a co-regent along her brother, the emperor. Berat was given this name because it was an important center of culture, wealth, and beauty in the empire. The heart of Berat for centuries has been the castle atop a rocky hill on the north bank of the Osum River. The citadel of Berat, as it is sometimes known, began before the Roman invasion rebuilt by Theodosius II in 5th century CE and rebuilt again in the 13th century by the local Byzantine government. At its peak, in the 1200s, the fortress housed thousands of citizens, 20 churches. The city was overwhelmingly Christian, one mosque, and other shops and services. To this day, hundreds of Albanians live within the castle walls, though most of the churches have been destroyed and the mosque exists only in minor ruins. Much of the housing remains intact from the period. The early modern period of Berat, 16th to 18th centuries, was dominated by the Ottoman Empire. Construction during this time reflected both the Ottoman influence and the influence of Islam. By 1670, the city was home to a Muslim majority, less than 100 years after being almost entirely Christian. The construction of this time period largely remains to the present day and is the origin of Berat's nickname, the city of 1,000 windows, as the Ottoman aesthetic favored relatively large and plentiful windows. This design, along with the city's layout along the hillside embankment of the Osum River, which allows visitors to see much of the city's housing at one time, gave the impression that Berat was a city dominated by windows. To this day, visitors to the city quickly understand the city's nickname as the windows continue to dominate the cityscape. The end of the Ottoman Empire in the early 20th century coincided with the rise of Albanian nationalism and the creation of modern Albanian state in 1913. Albania endured Nazi occupation in the 20th century, as well as the iron-fisted rule of communist dictator Enver Hoxha from 1944 to 1985. Hoxha's rule was commemorated on the side of nearby Mount Sperag, one of the mythical giants from Berat's origin legend mentioned above. In 1968, with the colossal painting of his name, visible for miles, the letters each 100 meters high and 60 meters wide dominated the skyline above Berat for decades. If you visit Berat today, however, the mountainside letters look slightly different. In 2012, as part of a documentary film project, a 58-year-old farmer and his nephew effectively switched the first two letters by power washing and repainting, resulting in the word never adorning the mountainside. Never again would the proud Albanian people fall into the grips of dictatorship, and never again would the people of Berat venerate their past oppressor. Berat, an ancient city which has seen rulers and regimes come and go, has been the one constant. From the Illyrians, Romans, and Byzantines to the Ottomans, Nazis, and communists, Berat has been through a lot, and still the city of 1,000 windows persists unbroken. Okay, so that was it, students, right there. And we did have a historical timeline here. We did have chronological information. Amra, lots of information, but you can simplify it, and we can simplify this. So let's simplify this. Who were kind of the first people that were in this region, or we think were in this region 2,500 years ago? Okay, let's see how many of you actually cataloged the cultures and the timelines in this information. Okay, so 2,500 years ago. Who were there? Ghazi says the Greeks. Yeah, we're the Greeks. Also kind of known, like I think a subgroup called the Illyrians or something. I don't know the exact spelling, but that's okay. Good job, Ghazi. Yeah, the Greeks. Okay, then what time came the next? Okay, so it tells you that at a certain time came another culture. Who were the other culture that came, and when did they come? Who came and when they came? You have to read the whole passage, and don't get tired reading. Get interested. Create the catalog in your mind, students. So who came after the Greeks and when did they arrive? It was very visual, very clearly described, very dominant, powerful empire. Okay. All right, very good, Ghazi. So Ghazi says it was the Romans. Good, Ghazi. So you're keeping track of this, right? Roman Empire. Yes, they did. The Roman Empire came, and Umra says 200 BC. Yeah, 200 BC before Christ. So basically, that would be 2,300 years ago, right? And they say 200 BC. That's 200 years before our modern calculation of time. Okay, who came next? When did they come? The Byzantine. Now, the Byzantine were really Romans. If you know your history, then you know that the Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, became the Byzantine Empire, right? So the Byzantine Empire. By the way, students, for the IELTS, just a quick tip, it's definitely a good idea to read basic world history, okay? It is a very good idea to have a basic knowledge of ancient and modern world history. So I don't mean, you don't need to know all the historical facts about different countries, but the basics, okay, of the big empires that came in the world, the Mongolian Empire, the Chinese Empire, the Roman Empire, the British Empire, the French Empire. So it's a good idea to know some of that basic history. And if you don't know it, read it. It's interesting. It shapes the world of today. Okay, especially modern history too, like 19th century, 20th century, industrialization, the First, Second World Wars. You should have some basic knowledge of that. Okay, and then so Byzantine Empire and then the Ottoman Empire. That's right. Okay. The Ottoman Empire came around 16 CE, yep. So about 600 years ago. Okay. The Byzantines were in there as well, definitely between these two. Yeah, so Num is asking, so timelines must be memorized? Absolutely. I mean, if you're not able to follow the timeline, the historical timeline in this kind of a passage, what are you really reading, right? It's going to cause you problems in university as well if you're in a history class or anthropology class or in a lot of other social science classes, and you're reading about the history of science or evolution of culture, and you can't keep track of what happened when. Yeah, that's going to be a problem on your exam, okay? Remember the big difference, students, between IELTS and real university or college. In the IELTS exam, you have the reading passage there. You can check. In real college and university, as you know, you don't have the reading. You have to use just your brain, right? You only have the questions. So it's a lot more challenging. Okay, so you have 600 years ago, the Ottoman Empire. And then, okay. Shantiram, I'm in Canada. Okay. So different empires brought with them different religions and different practices. We'll get to that in just a second. We're just looking at the culture and the timeline right now. Okay. What happened next? Who came next? Okay, Amra says Albania about 100 years ago, roughly. It finally became what we know today as Albania. Yeah. And then somebody took control, right? So that would be about what now? 80 years ago, roughly. German control. And then 60 years ago, roughly. Okay, it doesn't have to be exact when you're recalling this. It was communist control. And now it's a free city, a free state, right? So we kind of have this timeline, and now you can attach the different pieces of information to it as well, okay? So when we did this reading, what was noteworthy about the Greeks or the Illyrians? What do they add to this information? And notice how we're simplifying this here, okay? So this is becoming much more effective now. And of course, in the real IELTS exam, this is happening quickly. So this is happening in your head. You read this, you keep track of this, and you already have this when you finish the IELTS passage. You don't need to have all the details. You don't need to have all the information. You just need the order, okay? All right, so what did the Greeks add to this city of 1,000 windows? Okay, so what we're doing here in our simplification really is we're thinking about when, who, and what. Okay, so when, who, and what. And this works quite well with historical texts. Okay, so works well with historical information. And of course, IELTS questions, a lot of them will be about this kind of when, who, and what. So Ghazi said they built the ancient city. Yes. Okay. Rajneet, to check your writing, use our Grammarly link. It's in the last class. Okay. Maybe, I don't know if Carolina's got a copy of that link, but you could add that into the chat. Carolina, if you can find it for me, please, for checking writing. Yeah, Mandeep says 2 legends fought for women's love leading to the Osum River. Yeah, some river. Fine, Mandeep. You remembered it partially, but Osum River. Yeah, so the Greeks, the Illyrians, gave the legend. Okay, so originated the legend of Bharat. Or Bharat, yeah. So the 2 giants fighting over the woman's love, then killing each other, then the woman crying and making the river that splits the city of Bharat. So they originated the legend, right? What did the Romans do? Those horrible Romans. What did they do? Okay, whatever you can remember. I think they gave a couple of points for each of these cultures, but what did they do? Okay, so we're going through the when, who, what, and I bet that you remember. Okay, I think a lot of people, now that we're going through this kind of logical pattern, they're like, oh yeah, the Romans did that. Oh yeah, the Greeks did that. Yeah, Ghazi said they destroyed the city and killed people. Yeah, absolutely, Ghazi. It's terrible, but it's true. And killed all the men under the age of 15. Nam, in the real exam, you don't note down information like this. In the real exam, the only way that you note information like this is in your head when you're reading. Okay, as you get to the questions, you don't actually write it down. This you practice at home, and then when you get to your exam, you can do this in your head very quickly. Honestly, students, I have cataloged the times, the empires, and what each one did as soon as I finished the text. Okay, that's why I know what we're doing here. I haven't taught this text in a long time, and I don't memorize these texts, so I do this just like you. Okay, so this is for practice at home. During the real exam, you need to be able to do this as you read. Okay, so just so you know, I have all of this organized in my head already. So I would already be looking at the questions and answering them very quickly. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. They destroyed the city, killed all men under 15. Okay, and then after that came the Byzantine Empire at some point. If you don't remember all the information, I can't remember exactly when the Byzantines came, but they probably came a few hundred years later. And there's something else that happened. I don't even know how to spell that. Byzantine, like that, empire. Okay, so Byzantine Empire. The Romans and the Byzantine, what did they bring? They did bring something else that was very important. Okay. All right. So what did the Byzantine Empire bring? Before we go to the Ottoman Empire, okay, we need to think about what the Byzantine and the Roman Empire. There was one very important piece of information there. Umra said the city was named after Emperor's sister. That's a good piece of information as well. That was for the Romans. Yeah. And the Byzantine and the Romans, they brought what? Okay. They brought religion, right? To Bharat. Okay, so now I'll pick up a bit of speed and I'll show you what I mean by I have all this information in my head, and maybe you have more, you can add information, but you know, whatever you have in your head. 600 years ago, the Ottoman Empire came, took control. They brought Muslim faith, converted the people, and built the city with 1,000 windows, where it gets its name from, right? Okay, Albania became its own state. And nation. 80 years ago, Germany took control. That was during Nazi rule. Okay. 60 years ago, communist control, communist leader had name in big letters on mountains. Okay. Now, free city changed the letters on the mountains. Okay. So that's all right? I don't remember every detail, but I remember enough to know when an event happened, the culture, and some event that's connected to it. So when it happened, the culture that was in control of the area, and what event was connected to that, right? So 2,500 years ago, Greek Illyrians originated this legend of Bharat. 2,300 years ago, Roman Empire, they obviously invaded, they warred, they controlled. Then Byzantine Empire, Roman Empire brought the Christian religion, the churches to Bharat. Those were destroyed 600 years ago, roughly. The Ottoman Empire brought the Muslim faith. They converted the people, built the city of 1,000 windows. Then finally it became a free state. It became Albania, its own nation. Then it was dragged into the war, World War II. Germany took control, and then it became communist with Soviet influence, obviously, and that was it. They didn't really talk about the Soviet influence. Make sure not to add information. Okay. All right, so let's, before we answer the questions, so here we have all these lovely questions, and we're going to answer these. I want to give a chance for everybody to do a bit of reading practice. So we are going to do a bit of reading as a group, and we'll take volunteers to read a paragraph. and then we'll kind of refresh on what happened. Maybe we'll pick up a little bit more information. When you're at home, you should reread passages. So you shouldn't just read once and then answer and then go to another passage, read it once and then answer. It's not effective learning. Okay, a lot of students, they just go through a lot of reading materials without effective learning. You have to learn reading fluency and comprehension effectively, and that means rereading a lot of the time. Okay, did everybody catch that? That was really, really important. Let me make a note of that for you. Okay, so many students get ready for IELTS by reading one passage after the next. This is usually not effective. Because your brain is not really processing information, okay? So the reason that it's not effective is because it lacks feedback, it lacks correction, and it lacks a deep level of processing, okay? So it is much better to read passages twice, identify mistakes, identify why they happened, okay, learn new vocabulary, focus on reading fluency and comprehension as separate and combined elements. Okay, so don't just read one passage after the next thinking that that's going to get you a great score, because there is absolutely no way that you can predict the reading passage topic. When I sat the IELTS exam, one of my reading passages was about farming in Australia. How in the world would I ever have predicted that I'm going to be reading about farming in Australia? There's just no way. And do you think that I read an article about farming or farming in Australia before my IELTS exam? Of course not, right? That's just silly. So you have to reread passages, okay? All right, so let's read this passage again. Let's get a deeper understanding, everybody. So let's go to our Academic IELTS website, which is this one here. Our Academic IELTS website is aehelp.com, okay, www.aehelp.com. And when you go to the website, create a full user account by clicking this red button. You get our premium IELTS package, one-time payment, lifetime access, or you can try it for free. You don't have to pay. We're not going to force you to pay to continue. So you can click on that green button that's right beside or behind, sorry, I should say, my head. Okay, so once you create your paid or free account, it doesn't matter which one, then you have access to your My Student account. If you already registered before, then log into your My Student account, which is here at the top of the page. Let's see, can I trying to kind of get you there, but it's above that purple line. You'll see it there anyway. So you're in your My Student account, and in your My Student account, please click on the blue Student Partner Speaking button. So you see this blue Student Partner Speaking that's just above my head here. There. Okay. So Student Partner Speaking, by the way, there's lots of IELTS passages here, lots of materials. We've got tons and tons. We're world leaders when it really comes to IELTS preparation. So click on that Student Partner Speaking, accept the terms. It means that you're going to be respectful and accept responsibility for your own speaking. And then you're in this list of people that are here. Then you can see there's lots of people here already. And then you can volunteer. You'll see me as master. Okay, so my handle will be master. Let me see if we can. Yeah, so you'll see master, and click on the blue envelope, send me a message, and then I will choose some volunteers to do a bit of reading, and we'll do the questions together with the volunteers as well. Okay. All right. So Pradeep here is ready to go. Pradeep, are you ready? Let's see if we can reach out to Pradeep. Pradeep will read, and I'll give you a little bit of advice on your reading as well. So what you need to do and what you need to focus on. Okay. So Pradeep, I see that you volunteered. Just reaching out to you there. Perfect. Let's talk to Pradeep. All right, Pradeep. Hi, Pradeep. I can't hear you.
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Perfect. How are you, Pradeep?
Fine. How are you, Andrea?
I'm doing great, thank you. All right, Pradeep, are you ready for a bit of reading?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Now, Pradeep, just before we get started on the reading, you probably saw that there are a lot of interesting words in this reading, right? Like the names of places and the names of cultures. Yeah, like the name of the Roman emperor's sister, Pulcheria. Okay, I'll be honest with you, Pradeep. I have no idea how to pronounce some of these names. Okay, they're coming
I
from.
also don't have any idea about this.
Right. So, do you know what we need to do?
Actually, I don't know anything about this.
Don't do anything. Just read whatever you think is the right way and don't let it stop you. One mistake that people make is they try to actually read it correctly and it breaks their concentration and their focus. So when you see strange names, and you know their names because they're capital letters, right? They start with big letters. Just read it. Read through it. Okay? So don't try to pronounce it correctly. Just read it. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so whenever you're ready, go from the top here. So always read from the title. So start with The City of 1,000 Windows, and I'll get you to read the first two paragraphs, okay?
Okay. May I start?
Yeah, absolutely.
The City of 1,000 Windows. According to an Albanian legend, Virat, the City of 1,000 Windows, as it is affectionately known, was brought into being by a fight among the gods over the love of a woman. Two ancient giants represented by the nearby mountains Tomar and Siprak killed each other in the battle for the woman's heart. Economically distracted over the death, the woman cried unendingly. She cried so much that her tear of sorrow created the ocean river which bisects Virat, and she drowned in the river of her own tears. Virat is an ancient city and is believed to approximately 2500 years old. Though the historical record is unclear, historian thinks the original inhabitants of the area were the ancient Greek tribute known as Dasaretha. Later, the settlement became as Macedonian fortress in what was then southern Illyria. One of the most gruesome event in the town's history occurred in 200 BC when it was attacked by the Roman army led by Lucius Aptitus. His army destroyed the city's defense and killed every male citizen over the age of 15 in what must have been a terrible massacre.
Very nice reading. Okay, so good news here. Your reading is your fluency, like how fast you're reading, and your accuracy is definitely enough to get a band 7, 8, maybe even a band 9 in the reading section. Okay, so you're reading nice and fluently. You did a really good job of not stopping for those names. Notice how when you didn't stop for those names, it was just fluent, right? Like
I
you
just
just,
pronounce whatever it came in my mind.
and that was perfect. That's exactly what you need to do. That's exactly what you need to do. You know, nobody's going to test you. Did you pronounce that correctly? No, you're going to fail IELTS. So yeah, that was perfectly done. That was a great example of how to do this. And that often happens in IELTS where you have these kind of strange names or things. So don't let those break your concentration. That was really, really good. The only one word where you read it in a bit of an awkward way and that could confuse your comprehension is this word here, emotionally distraught. You read it as economically. That's a different word. So careful not to change words, right? That was emotionally distraught. Now, some words like distraught might be a new word for you. Again, don't
Yes,
worry.
that's new for me.
Yeah, it's a higher level word. Don't worry about it. Just read, right? Understand as much as you can. Get to the questions, and then if you have to figure it out later, then deal with it later. But for now, distraught means like it means like stressed out or really in a depressed kind of state, so very sad about it. Extremely
Sad state.
Yeah, an extremely sad state, an extremely sad and problematic state. That's distraught. Okay, so that's what it means, but you don't have to worry about it. You can kind of get it from the context. Emotionally distraught over the deaths the woman cried. So you can figure out that it means like a very sad, worried, stressed out state. Okay. All right, that was good. Thank you so much for reading those two paragraphs. I'm going to get someone else to help me with the next two paragraphs. Keep that up, okay? So that's how you want to practice your reading. You're doing a good job. And practice reading aloud, just like you did now, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Pradeep, for being the first. And hang around for the questions, okay?
Okay, you're welcome, Andrea.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye, Pradeep.
Okay, bye.
All right. That was Pradeep. Give Pradeep a thumbs up. That was really good. Okay. So that was a really, really good. Avdal says distraught is like desperate. Yeah, desperate and like just really confused and worried and sad in the head. Distraught. Okay. All right. Let's take another volunteer. Ghazi, I thought you volunteered earlier, but I don't see it now. Let's try somebody new. So Money Deep, Amrit, I know you're volunteering, but you've done it in the past. So let's try to see if Afdal is here. Afdal says, can I try? Yeah, let's try to take some new people. So sure. Are you ready? All right. Okay, and again, we'll do the same. We'll just keep reading, and then we'll get to these questions here. We've got lots of time. We've got 37 minutes to finish this up and get to the questions and talk strategy on the questions as well. So hang in there, okay? When you're practicing for reading at home, this is what you want to do. Take your time, pay attention, read, reread, learn new words, okay? Be effective in your learning. All right, Afdal. Hi, Afdal. I can't hear you yet. We'll give it a second. Maybe there's a delay in your voice. Afdal, check your microphone settings. Check your connection. Ideally, you're using a Wi-Fi or LAN connection, and you have enabled your browser for your microphone and your speaker. Also, students, if you're using Apple, it could be tricky. Apple has special kinds of permissions. I'm not a big Apple user, but I know that Apples can be a bit problematic for Apple computers. So, all right, Afdal, try again later. So troubleshoot, check it out, try with another person, and then we'll try again later, okay? All right, let's see, who else is here? Okay, Manideep, sure, why not? Sure, are you ready? All right. I'm just grabbing. So you have to, say I want to volunteer. I won't randomly choose you because I don't know if you're in a situation where you can speak. Like, I don't want to call somebody if they're driving a car. And if you're driving a car, you definitely should not be doing this. Okay. It's very dangerous. All right. And Carolina has kindly put the instructions into the chat on how to join. Okay. So you go to the website, create an account, free or paid, go to student partner speaking, look for the name master. Okay.
Adrian.
Hi, Manideep. That was fast. It didn't even ring. You just picked up.
Yes, I was ready.
You certainly were. Okay, that's a good way to be in the reading section. That's how you want to be. You want to be that ready for those high band scores. Okay, Manideep. So let's get right into it. You are reading from the third paragraph, which is during the Byzantine period. Same instruction. If you don't know the pronunciation, just read through it. Okay. Whenever you're ready, begin.
During the Byzantine period, following the fall of the western half of the Roman Empire, Berat was known as Pulcheripolis, a name which was derived from Pulcheria, the sister of Roman Emperor Theodosius II. This name was not given casually. Pulcheria was highly respected throughout the empire and was considered a co-regent alongside her brother, the emperor. Berat was given this name because it was an important center of culture, wealth, and beauty in the empire.
Keep going.
The heat of Berat for centuries has been the castle atop a rock hill on the north bank of the awesome river. The citadel of Berat, as it is sometimes known, was begun before the Roman invasion, rebuilt by Theodosius II in the 5th century CE, and rebuilt again in the 13th century by the local Byzantine government. At its peak in the 1200s, the fortress housed thousands of citizens, 20 churches. The city was overwhelmingly Christian, one mosque and the other shops and services. To this day, hundreds of Albanians live within the castle walls. Though most of the churches have been destroyed and the mosque exists only in minor ruins, much of the housing remains intact from the period.
Okay, great. All right, good reading. Good reading. Okay, again, that's a lot of students worry that they don't read fast enough or well enough for high marks on the IELTS exam, but I disagree. I think a lot of students actually read perfectly fine for finishing the text in 20 minutes. I think with that speed, you would be finished this whole passage within 5 to 6 minutes, leaving you 14 minutes for the questions. That means like a whole minute on average for each question. That's a lot of time. The trick is not reading faster. The trick is reading effectively, right? And that's what I hope a lot of people are realizing here. It's not the speed that's the problem. I think that's where a lot of people are confused, but it's the efficiency of reading. I think that's the problem for many candidates in IELTS. Having said that, okay, Manideep, this paragraph that we just read, we didn't actually talk about this before when we were talking about, what we read in the passage. And this is kind of an important paragraph. We almost left out this paragraph completely. This last paragraph that you read about, what was it focusing on? So what is the main goal of the author in this paragraph?
The author was talking about the rebuild by the Theodosius II.
What was rebuilt?
Especially the castle at top.
Yeah, so this, exactly. So to give a very good answer to my question, Manideep, it would be, this paragraph is about the famous landmark of Berat. This landmark is the castle that's on top of Berat. So in this case, visually, right, what you should be seeing is that, okay, here we have the city of Berat, okay? So here's Berat. I'm starting to get the picture in my head, even though I've never actually, I'm curious, I'll Google it after the class. I've never seen the city, but I'm guessing that the city is kind of like a hill. It's obviously got these mountains that it's talking about, and it's got this river that's kind of flowing through the middle of it. And somewhere here, there's a castle,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of the iconic part of Bharat. So by this paragraph, as a good reader, you should definitely start to see a pretty good image of Bharat, even if you've never seen the city. Do you see what I
Yes.
mean about this, Manideep? Like, you should see
Yes,
the
I do.
mountains on the two sides that are the giants. You should see the river in the middle that this woman cried. And we should see this castle that's almost 2,000 years old and has been built, rebuilt, and rebuilt again. Okay?
Yeah.
If we're not seeing that, like if we're doing the IELTS exam and we're not seeing any of this, it will definitely be really difficult to get a good mark and finish on time. Okay?
Sure.
Makes sense, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Otherwise, good reading. So make sure to focus on that visual reading, Manideep. Okay.
Yeah, like when we were doing the initial set of analysis, I do remember the Theodosius second, but even I forgot completely about the paragraph.
Yeah, I didn't see too many people saying, "Hey, we forgot about the castle of Bharat." So that
Yeah.
shows how much we need to improve our visual reading, right? Like, how do you forget about reading about a castle? Yeah, absolutely. Good, Manideep. Keep up the good studies and just hang in there. We'll get to the questions soon. Okay, I'm going to find somebody else for the rest of the passage. All right.
Sure, Adrian. Thanks for
Okay.
the opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, that was Manideep. Keep up the good studies, guys. That's really good. That's what you want to do. All right, let me see here. Let's give Amrit a chance. Amrit's always so supportive with super chat donations and just very studious all around. So Amrit, let's give you a chance here. Are you ready? I'm hoping it's the right Amrit too, because we do have multiple Amrits. If it's not, well, hey, we'll be your name brother. Okay, Amrit, if you are there and if you're ready to read, then ping me back and say I am ready. Okay, so reading. Thank you for the support, by the way, students in the chat there, giving each other thumbs up and high fives. Need to with lots of little yellow thumbs up people. Yeah, it's great. Okay, some of you are using my hand. That's my hand thumbs up. Amrit, are you still there? Are you not? I don't see it. I don't see a response. So, bottom side. Okay. Amrit's calling me. All right. Hi, Amrit.
Hi sir, how are you?
I am doing good, thank you. All right. It was smart of you to give me a call back there. All right, Amrit,
Yeah,
are
sir,
you
because of
different Amrit, right?
yes.
Okay. That's
why
okay,
I
though.
joined you.
The other Amrit that's out there, I will give you a chance also. Okay, so hang in there. If you saw this, maybe you'll help us with the questions. Okay, Amrit, let's get back to the passage here. So read a couple of paragraphs. Okay, let's start from the early modern period of Bharat. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay, sir. The early modern period of Virar, 16th and 18th century, was dominated by the Ottoman Empire. Constructions during the period reflected both Ottoman influence and influence of Islam. By 1617, the city was home to a Muslim majority, less than 100 years after being almost entirely Christians. The constructions of this time period largely remain to the present day, and it is the origin of Birat's nickname. The city of a thousand windows has a Ottoman aesthetic favored relatively large and plentiful windows. This design, along with the city's layout along the hillside embankment of the Assume River, which allow visitors to see much of the city's housing at one time, gave the impressions that Binod was a city dominated by windows. To this day, the visitors to the city quickly understand the city's nickname, as the windows continue to dominate the cityscape.
Okay, keep reading.
The end of the Ottoman Empire in the early 20th century coincided. Can you scroll? coincided with the rise of the Albanian nationalism and the creations of modern the Albanian state in 1930. The Albanian endured Nazi occupation in the 20th century as well as the unfettered rule of the communist um, dictator Enver Hoxha from 1944 to 1985. The Hoxha's rule was commemorated on the side of nearby Mount Shapriok, one of the mythical giants from the Beard's origin region mentioned above in 1968 with the colossal painting of his name. Visible for miles, the letters each 100 meters high and 60 meters wide dominated the skyline above Virat for decades. If you visit Virat today, however, the mountainside letters look slightly different. In 2012, as a part of documentary film projected, a 48 years old farmer and his nephew effectively switched the first two letters by powered washing and repainting, resulting in the word never, adorning the mountainside. Never again would the proud Albanian people fall into the grips of the dictatorship, and never again will be people of Virat venerate their past oppressor. Virat, an Asian city which has seen rulers and regimes came and go, and has been one constant from the Illyrians, Romans, and Byzantines to the. Can you scroll down, sir?
It's coming.
Ottomans and Nazis and communists, Berat has been through a lot, and still the city of a thousand windows persists unbroken.
Okay, good. All right. Amrit, good reading. All right. So the fluency was pretty good. You got stuck a couple of times, but overall it was not bad. I'm a bit worried about your comprehension when you're reading aloud like this, okay? And I think that there are a couple ways that you can improve your comprehension, so understanding more, okay? Your speed is okay, but I can tell that comprehension might be a little bit of a problem based on the words where you're getting stuck, okay? So if I go back here to this paragraph where you started, the end of the Ottoman Empire, here are two tips for you, Amrit, okay? When you're practicing at home, tip number one, when you come across a word that's maybe new or tricky for you, like let's say the word coincided, okay? Stop and check it. So check how it's pronounced. You can Google it, okay? And Google can use voice, so Google can actually say coincided. They will tell you the correct pronunciation, and then you want to repeat this word twice. So coincided, coincided. Can you just repeat with me?
Coincided.
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 Okay. Coincided means happened at the same time. What does it mean, Amrit?
Okay, sir. That happened the same time.
Absolutely. Okay, so get the definition and then reread the sentence. So the end of the Ottoman Empire in the early 20th century coincided with the rise of Albanian nationalism and the creation of the modern Albanian state in 1913. So now we can make sense that the Ottoman Empire ended and the Albanian state was created at the same time, so coincided. So now I've increased my comprehension, and to do that, slow down a bit when you're rereading and enunciate even more. Sometimes I felt like your reading is a bit flat. You did stop at the commas, you did stop at the periods, but overall for me it felt a little bit flat, okay?
Okay, sir.
So what you want to do is intonate more, even exaggerate a little bit, like the end of the Ottoman Empire, almost like you're making a documentary movie, okay? The end of the Ottoman Empire in the early 20th century coincided with the rise of the Albanian nationalism and the creation of the modern Albanian state in 1913, right? Like it sounds kind of like a history movie, right?
Okay.
All right. So read like that just so that you emphasize the meaning of the content. Practice that a little bit and you'll get what I mean, okay? So you'll start to feel it.
Okay, sir.
All right. So get the meaning of the words. Once you have the meaning of the words, then read again with a lot of emphasis, okay?
Okay, sir. Got it.
All right. Okay, we're going to move to the questions, and I'm going to find somebody else for that, Amrit, but keep up the good practice, okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for giving me a nice chance.
Absolutely, and good luck on your upcoming exam. You've got 8 days, so keep going, okay?
Okay, sir. Thank
right.
you so much. Bye bye.
Okay, bye, Amrit. All right, thumbs up for Amrit. That was really good. You have to be very brave for that. All right. Let's go. We got a Milena at the bottom here. Let's see if Milena would like to be a volunteer for some questions. Milena, are you ready? I will help you, Milena. So don't, Milena. So don't worry if you're not sure about these questions yet. I'm here to help. Okay. Hopefully, Milena, you were in the class for the most part, so you've read most of the text, Milena, and let's hope we can connect here. Hi, Milena.
Hey.
Milena, can you mute YouTube so we're not getting feedback from the audio?
Of course.
Perfect. All right. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Milena?
So basically, I am from Armenia, and my name is Milena. But every time native English speakers call me Melina, but
okay, but it's
you
Milena.
can call me Millie. Of course.
Milena. Yeah, so I'm going to call you the way your mother planned to call you, okay? So I'm going to call you Milena. The world's becoming international, so people should kind of fight for the correct pronunciation of their names. Okay, so Milena, awesome. Are you familiar with Albania's history?
Not at all.
Not at all. Fair enough. All right, neither am I. So we're in the same boat, but let's try to solve these questions together now that we've read a little bit about the city of Berat. So here we have the title of the summary topic, and it's really good that we have kind of a chronological order of information in our head. So we know that it was the Greeks, then the Romans, then the Byzantines, because this question clearly follows some of that organization. So what I would like you to do to solve this kind of question, this summary topic, is first you want to use always your own knowledge, so what you understood from the text, and then if you need help you can go back to the text. So all I want you to do is read this first part, title of summary, the beginnings, read question 27, 28, and let's try to figure out the answers together. If you need a bit of help, I'm here to help you, okay? So whenever you're ready, start from title of summary topic.
Okay, I'm ready.
Go for it.
The mythical origin of Bertrand involves a battle between two 27 something concerning the affection of a certain woman named Tamar and Spirag. They live on today in the form of two 28 something surrounding the city of Bertrand.
Berat, yeah, whatever, however we pronounce that. Okay, so what do you think number 27 is?
I think we have to go back to the text.
I don't think so. I think we can do it without it. Okay, so did you read the text? Were you here for the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay, so remember the legend of Berat? It says that there was a fight. I remember the text said fight. Here they just use the word battle instead of fight. Who was fighting for this woman's love?
I don't remember certainly.
You don't remember who was fighting? I think somebody in the chat can help us. I can see that Amra and Rashika have already put some answers in there. It was very visual. Okay, well, you know what? We're going to leave 27 then. We'll come back to 27. Okay, and then let's keep reading. So the affections of a certain woman named Tomor and Spirag. They live on today in the form of to something surrounding the city of Berat. What is surrounding the city of Berat?
Mountains.
So what do you think the answer is for question 28? Mountains. Stay with your answer.
So,
Mountains,
yeah.
right? Mountains, 2 mountains. Okay. Okay, so you've got question 28. It's mountains. Be confident. Okay, Melina, be confident in your answer. Okay, mountains. And mountains is correct, plural, because it's 2, right? So mountains, correct answer, right? You can't, Melina, to get a high band score in the IELTS, you can't search for every answer. It doesn't work. Okay, and everybody who's done the IELTS knows this, that you cannot effectively complete the reading section if you're searching for every single answer. You have to try to get at least half of them just from your own brain, from using knowledge from your own head. Okay, so this one you knew, this one you have, mountains. Now, before we search for 27, we might be able to figure out 27 after this answer. So named Tomor and Shparag, they live on today in the form of 2 mountains surrounding the city of Berat. So what are those 2 mountains representing? What were they originally that were fighting with each other?
I can't remember.
Okay, so then in this case, we would go back. Where will we find this in the text? At the start, in the middle, or the end?
At the start.
Right. And usually the order is start, middle, finish, and the questions follow the same order, but not always. Okay, be careful. Sometimes a question like this could be taken from the middle of the text as well. Okay, so there's some people, like some teachers will say, oh, it's always in the order of the text. It's often in the order of the text, but not always. Okay, so you have to be careful. Okay, let's go back then to the beginning. Now, instead of just randomly searching, okay, we know that we've gotten the answer for represented by the nearby mountains Tomor and Shparag, because we just answered that, right? So this is really easy for our eyes to find. Okay. So who was fighting for the love of the woman? Are you reading right now, Melina?
Can I read?
Oh, yeah. I'm looking for your answer for 27 now. So who do you think? I'm just asking you, who do you think? You should see the answer now. So who do you think was fighting for? Because here we have fight among, right? So we're looking for the paraphrase. That's the battle, right?
Gods.
That's right. Gods. Okay.
Gods was
So what's the correct answer then for 27?
Gods was right hand.
Right. Okay. So it says here giants, and a lot of students actually said giants, but unfortunately that would probably be marked wrong. The answer that they're looking for is gods. Why is gods a better answer than giants? Milena, what do you think?
Basically, I think that giants were like humans, but
could be. You're right. It could be. So giants is more general. Giants can describe gods, can describe very large humans, can describe other mythical creatures like ogres or dragons. So giants is more general, and here they're looking for a more specific answer. So the more accurate answer is gods. So you do have to be careful in the exam and always find the more specific answer. Now, here's something interesting. Gods, is it spelled G-O-D-S with a small g or with a big G, like G-O-D-S?
I think plural of the word God is with little.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Because the only God that is spelt with a big G in English is the Christian or Muslim God, like the God, right? The one God. So that's the only one. Anytime that we're referring to other gods, like gods in Shintoism or in Hinduism, it's always spelt with a small g for plurals. Okay, so it's an interesting one, tricky one, but an interesting one. Okay, good. Let's keep going a little bit. Okay, so let's go to the next one. You'll get the idea. You'll get the hang of it. So here, a really important tip, Milena, is don't jump to the text right away as soon as you see that there's a question that you don't know the answer to, especially when it's one section like this, so beginnings. Then try to answer both of the questions. And if you can answer the second one, that will help you to answer the first one faster. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's try it with violence strikes. So whenever you're ready, read this violence strikes. Okay.
Okay. Beirut is thought to be about 2,500 years old. Soon after this time, when it was a Macedonian fortress, the 29 something destroyed the city and killed all males over the age of 15.
Keep going.
Later, Beirut was given the name 30 something something because of its importance in culture and beauty in the Byzantine Empire.
Okay, good. So number 29, what's the answer? Who destroyed the city and killed all the males over the age of 15?
God.
No, God did not destroy the city and kill males over the age of 15. Who did? Remember the history? So who were there first? The Greeks. Who came after the Greeks? The Illyrians.
Roman.
Yes, exactly. The Romans, and try to be a little bit more specific. So here, the instructions do say no more than 2 words. So when it's no more than 2 words, and this is for everybody who's watching, you want to be specific. It's not just the Romans, because there were a lot of Romans that lived during that time all over the world, right? So to be more specific, what would be a better answer than Roman? The Roman what? You have half of the answer, but you need to be more specific. And a couple people in the chat have it, and one of them is even Ghazi's using an exclamation mark to try to help you with the second word. So you always want to be specific. Not the Romans in general, right? But it's the
Roman army.
Exactly, the Roman army. So, it's important in life to be specific, right? We tend to make this mistake all the time where we encapsulate an entire group of people as the ones doing something. Like right now, a lot of people are saying the Russians are invading Ukraine. No, the Russian army is invading Ukraine. It's not all the Russians around the world that are doing it, right? So we have to be careful how we choose our answers. And the IELTS, academic IELTS, you have to be specific, right? So it's the Roman army that destroyed the city and killed all of them, okay? Or the Roman armies for plural, but Roman army is okay. All right. Okay, so let's keep going. So the Roman army destroyed the city and killed all males over the age of 15. Careful with the R here. It has to be a capital letter because it's the name of that empire.
Army.
Yeah, army can be small in this case, interestingly, because it's not part of the whole name, it's just the word. So Roman army. Okay, or Roman soldiers would be okay as well. Assad is asking, could I use soldiers? Yes, you could, because soldiers is a synonym for army. So both are okay there. All right, and they use both. So later, Berat was given the name. What was the name that was given to Berat later on? Melina. Keep your answer simple. Mm-hmm.
The name business.
I don't know. The answer here that you should be telling me is I don't know. Okay, I don't know what name they gave it later on. But I do remember something. Okay. Do you remember something about the emperor's sister?
No.
No? Okay, well, there was something. So careful with your comprehension then, Melina, because you should be remembering these details. So when the Romans destroyed it, and then it was the Roman Empire and the Byzantine Empire, they named it after a Roman emperor's sister, who was a very important and very beautiful person. And I don't remember her name because it was quite a tricky name, but I do remember that it was kind of somewhere in the middle of the passage, and it started with a P, with a big P. I do remember that. So here, you see all these words with the P. So P and then P right there and P right there. So I did not remember this word. So this was the name of the empress or the emperor's sister, Pulcheropolis, and then they derived that from the word Pulcheria. So Berat was known as this. This is the name of the city. And this is the name of the empress. Oh. So the empress, or the emperor's sister, is Pulcheria, and the name of the city is Pulcheriopolis. Yeah. In the IELTS, you can copy paste in the computer-based exam. So I'm just going to copy and paste the answer if I can do that for this question. So copy, paste, and I have correct spelling and correct answer. Okay. So you don't have to remember all the answers from the passage, Melina, but you do have to remember the idea. So here you should remember that it was after an emperor's sister and it was something starting with a P. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So that's how you go about it. So just to give you a quick recap, Melina, for these 4 questions that we did, okay, you should be able to answer mountains and Roman army without looking at the text. And then if you're answering 27, gods, and number 30, Pulcheriopolis, you should be able to find the answers quite quickly if you understood the text at least 60%. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So focus on that. Focus on having at least 60% comprehension. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Melina, for volunteering and helping me explain this to all of our viewers and being with us today. Thank you a ton. Okay.
Thank you too.
All right. Have a great rest of your day and come back for tomorrow's speaking classes. Okay.
Of course.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. All right. So that was Melina. Okay, yes, Amrit, you in the computer-based exam, if you have that kind of a question, you can copy paste, and I believe you can even in the reading section. Carolina might know more about that, but I think most of the reading section questions, I didn't actually have to write anything. I just had to drag and drop, so it's easier. Okay, all right, students, we have run out of time, but that is okay. It's better to understand than to rush, all right? So these last questions, guarding Berat, okay, and the yes, no, not given questions, try to do these in your own time and then email me your answers and I will email you back the answer key, okay? And this last question as well, the main aim of the passage. So you will find these in the video, that's why I'm going to these, and then you can email me your answers. Okay, so again, here are the last few yes, no, not given questions. Here are the first few yes, no, not given questions. Send me the answers in an email. Here is my email address. My email address is adrian@aehelp.com, and I will send you back the answer key. Okay. You should not be searching for all of your answers. You should be able to answer at least half of these based on the reading that we've just done, all right? But if you're not sure, read again, check, okay? Practice effective strategy. All right, students, to learn lots more, to get lots more practice exams, definitely visit us on our website, aehelp.com. We just used that today for interacting with our students, and you can interact with each other on the website as well. You can join our premium IELTS package by clicking this big red button, or try it for free with the green button. Use that code that I showed you, happy9. Okay, so the discount code is happy9. Thank you, subscribers. So it was a subscribers chat class, okay? And so make sure to subscribe to our channel so that, hit the notification button so that you know when all of our live classes are going. You are very welcome, Elena. Again, thank you for participating. Keep it up, Amrit, Rashika, Carolina, thank you for moderating. I am signing out for now from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. One last time, aehelp.com for academic IELTS, gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. I will be back tomorrow at the same time with speaking, and as with the earlier class, I will do 2 speaking classes, one at 5:30 a.m. Vancouver time and one at 7:30 a.m. Vancouver time. So hopefully I will see you there. Have a great start to your weekend, everyone. Much love to you all. Bye for now.